It is currently Halloween morning here in the Philippines on the 31st of October, 2020, and a fairly scary sight off the coastline of the Philippines. Here we have Super Typhoon Goni, known as Rolly in the Philippines, and this storm is no joke, my friends. If you're out ahead of this, you definitely need to be making those preparations. Now, have a plan if you are being asked to evacuate, because this storm, still very dangerous, still very potent. A high-end Category 5 storm on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Winds of 287 kilometers per hour with gusts up to 350 kilometers per hour based on satellite analysis in that center of circulation. It's not only the strength, it's the overall width of this storm. There's a large wind field here stretching from end to end with that cirrus shield 600 kilometers in diameter. This was a question a lot of you asked me, and I get it. Because that inner core, yeah, you have some pretty devastating winds. This is where the 350 kilometer per hour winds are, by the way, in that inner eye wall. In fact, you can see here on the last 24-hour microwave imagery, this underwent an eye wall replacement cycle, meaning that inner eye wall kind of fell apart and an outer eye wall formed. What that simply means is the wind field kind of expanded a bit, but with that cirrus shield being so large, tropical storm strength winds very well are going to extend pretty far out from this, especially on its northern periphery. All right, so here are some of the main points. Landfall likely Sunday evening, overnight into Monday morning. This is going to be moving across the Philippines. So unfortunately, a nighttime storm. Those are always more dangerous, always more deadly, unfortunately, as well. So one more reason why you need to have a plan of action to be in a safe place. Manila could take a more direct impact from the storm than originally forecasted. It's tracking a little bit further towards the south. That's the key thing, and it makes all the difference as far as direct impacts. Why is it going further south? Well, it all has to do with this cold surge that's coming in out of eastern China. In fact, if you are in Okinawa or Taiwan, you might notice a fairly brisk wind out there today. That is thanks to this high pressure ridging in. When that ridge is in, you can just see it here, and here's the front out ahead of it with a trough towards the northeast. It's going to push our storm system a little bit further towards the south. So instead of coming due west, we're starting to see it kind of basically, if you extrapolate this front towards the southwest, coming on shore right about there. That's where we're going to be seeing some of the biggest impacts. And take a look at the forecast from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Cat 5 super typhoon right now. It is expected to weaken. The good news, but that surge and that high pressure coming in, it allows some drier air to work into the storm system that will weaken it off a bit. So it won't be a Category 5, and likely not going to be a super typhoon at landfall either, but still a fairly potent storm system as it comes across southern Luzon. The coast of Aurora over through Quezon. This is where I'm really worried about a storm surge. We're going to see a bit of funneling in here with those winds being pushed out ahead of this, kind of like a plow. Some of these coastal communities could see a pretty decent surge. And not only that, on the western periphery, those winds are going to be wrapping around and coming on shore into Manila Bay, around Cavite, over towards Rojas Boulevard, these coastal areas in the bay. You could be looking at some pretty significant flooding as well. So a lot going on with this. The concentration of multiple agencies also shifting further towards the south from my last update. It's not a lot. My last update, most of them came on shore right about here, and they tracked across over towards Angeles, coming out near Subic. It's not much of a difference. In fact, some of them are still doing that, but this is much closer to the NCR, and this makes a world of a difference. Because we're still going to be looking at typhoon strength winds in Manila. So signal force 3 to signal force 4 in the NCR, one of these most densely populated areas on Earth, is very well possible. So a very serious situation here, guys. Yes, there's a lot of caveats here. Yes, it's a super typhoon now. I don't expect a super typhoon when it passes over this area, but I do expect a dangerous, maybe Category 3 type storm system. The Philippine Sea always throws us curveballs. This could maintain some intensity too. That's why the forecast, you have to keep on checking it back in every day on this. And if you are watching this, make sure I don't have a newer video out as well, especially with signal force warnings. Check these. One reason why I don't like signal force warnings, I would prefer a straight up typhoon warning. This is going to change. Right now it's signal force 1. This is likely going to be a 4 or 5 when all is said and done. across especially central Luzon here, and even over towards the Manila area as well. So as far as rainfall, that deals with wind. Rainfall, some areas as much as 500 millimeters crossing central areas of the Philippines here. Rain on top of already saturated ground, extreme chance of flooding, especially some of those mountainous terrains, along with landslides, storm surge, and that right front quadrant is going to be severe, and wind damage as well further inland. So there's another look at our storm system. You can actually just see on our satellite imagery here, this starts to make that wobble a little bit further towards the southwest. So that's that change in the forecast. It's slight, but still very serious. Anyways, this is number 2 question outside of the track and the size of the storm. People have been asking, which is stronger? Was it Typhoon Haiyan or Typhoon Goni here at peak intensity? And I tell everybody this, Haiyan, known as Yolanda in the Philippines, was on a different level. I covered this storm when it came on shore. It was absolutely just jaw-dropping. But the big difference as well, the wind's much stronger, about 20 kilometers per hour higher, but also this reached max intensity at landfall. It was also a November storm, by the way, right around the same time period, just a few weeks later, but it reached max intensity at landfall. The good news with Goni, it is going to weaken before it comes on shore based on the forecast. Right now it's at max intensity. And I think over open water coming on shore, that makes all the difference. It just makes such a big difference. Because if we had this intensity of a storm right now coming in across Legazpi over towards Manila, my goodness, the damage that would be caused would just be absolutely catastrophic. Thankfully, that shear and some dry air should start to act on it, but I don't want you to let your guard down at all, because even though it's going to back off, if you hear it go from a Cat 5 to a Cat 4, that's still a major storm system, and that's still destructive. So stay safe. Keep on checking in with PAGASA. Thank you for all the comments. I'm sorry I can't get to all the comments on here. These videos over the past week, some of the most viewed ones I've had on YouTube and on Facebook. I really appreciate it. If you're new, subscribe. I really appreciate that. Plus, follow me on all these social media platforms. Key thing, check in with PAGASA, especially with their latest warnings. Stay safe and be smart. Thanks for watching.